So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, different parts of the world. Welcome to our global webinar series, in partnership IFES, GEDC, and IUCE. So we have an exciting one for you today. Okay, I think many of you are. I know many of you who are in the audience today, and I know that you all have been actively working with towards sustainability and climate change mitigation, and getting our students to become more aware of these problems and try to work with on projects in these areas. So I think we have a lot to learn from our speaker today. Our speaker today is Dr. Pritpal Singh. Okay, I think Hans refers to him as Pali, so I assume he is referred to as Pali by most of his friends. So Dr. Pritpal Singh is a professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Villanova University, which is close to Philadelphia in the United States. So Dr. Singh has become a recognized world leader in ECE-related humanitarian technology education. As some of you who were at our recent annual conference in Mysore may know that we have also been emphasizing this particular area in various activities of part of IUCE. So Dr. Singh was invited to serve as the Education Committee Chair of IEEE's Special Interest Group in Humanitarian Technology, which is SIGHT, for 2017-2019, as 2020 Chair of the Assessment Training Ad Hoc Subcommittee, and as Vice Chair of IEEE's Smart Village Education Committee for 2020 and 2021. All extremely interested and valuable things for all our communities in the world. He has also been asked to lead a community of practice in technology-based quality education for IEEE Humanitarian Activities Committee, HAC, for 2021. I can see just from his resume that we are going to have a great relationship with him, IFES, GEDC, and IUCE as we move forward in the next several years. So with that introduction, Dr. Pritpal Singh, welcome. And please you can show your screen and get going. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Vidula, and thank you for the kind introduction. So let me share my screen here. And okay, I just want to check, are you seeing one slide or two
we saw
slides?
it before. We saw now we can see the previews now. It's in the preview format, but in the slideshow format, I might want to put in the
Let me
slideshow
switch
format.
the settings here.
Sorry,
okay, how's
sir,
that
there
now?
is an echo. There is an echo, sir.
No, echo, I'm not sure. Okay, now the slide is okay, Dr. Singh. This is fine. So go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for hosting me for this webinar today. I'm excited to share some of the work I've done with partnerships with universities between Villanova and universities in several different countries. And I'm going to give 3 examples today of projects we've done with universities in Latin America. So as an introduction to, so the outline of my presentation is I'll give an introduction to what we mean by sustainable development. I'll introduce my university, Villanova University. I'll talk about 3 different projects: a collaborative telehealth project in Nicaragua, a collaborative project in Guatemala, and then also a renewable energy project in Ecuador. So as you can see, most of my work has been done in the Latin American context, Central and South America. And then I'll wrap up with the summary and some conclusions. So what we mean by sustainable development, at least from my perspective, is coming up with solutions to address the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So as you know, there are 17 goals, and also under each goal, there are a number of targets. And so these goals were established by the member countries of the United Nations to try to produce impact on sustainable development challenges in the world. And so you can see the first one is end poverty in all its forms everywhere. The second goal is end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and so on. So each of these goals is attacking some worldwide challenge and trying to reduce poverty, trying to improve quality of lives of people in the world. So for this presentation, I'm focusing on three development goals with the projects that I'm going to present. So the first is goal 3, good health and well-being. So ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages. The second is Sustainable Development Goal 4, quality education, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And then number 7, which is affordable and clean energy. So ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. So let me say a few words about the university where I'm teaching and have been teaching for the last 38 years. It's a Catholic Augustinian private university based in suburban Philadelphia. It's about 180 years old now, founded in 1842. And we have about 10,000 students split as about 6,500 undergraduate students and 3,500 graduate students. We have colleges of liberal arts and science, business, nursing, engineering, and law. The liberal arts and science is the largest college, then the business school, and then nursing and engineering are comparable in size. And in the US News and World Report rankings, Villanova was ranked number 51 in the US as a doctoral granting research university. And if we look at our College of Engineering, we have 5 undergraduate engineering majors: civil and environmental engineering, chemical engineering, computer engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. We have about 1,000 undergraduate engineering students and about 150 master's and PhD students. We have some special programs. We have MS and PhD in sustainable engineering. And I see a few of my sustainable engineering students on the webinar this morning. And we also have a very well-established service learning program through the College of Engineering. And we've also recently established a Center for Humanitarian Engineering. So these are some special programs within our College of Engineering. So the first project that I want to consider is the telehealth project that we conducted in Nicaragua in collaboration with the Universidad Nacional de Ingeniería, or UNI, which is the top engineering university in Nicaragua. It's located in Managua, the capital city in the Pacific southwest part of the country. So the project that we worked on here was a telehealth project, and was located in the region around the town of Waslala, which comprises about a population of about 70,000 people. The central town is surrounded by of the order of 90 rural communities, and there's a limited public health system. Only 1 hospital in the town and 6 doctors serve the entire region. So it's a very limited area in terms of health outreach. So the people who are the front line of delivering healthcare to the communities are volunteer community health workers. And these are literally volunteers within their communities who try to provide, to the best of their ability, health support for families where people are having health issues. So as you can see from these photographs, the terrain is very rugged. It's very much a rural, agricultural-based community. And you see people riding around on horseback. There are roads, but many areas are not very accessible in that community. So trying to get doctors to attend to the health needs of their patients or nurses is a big challenge in this area. So our immediate healthcare goals, this project goes back to 2010, 2011, when we worked on initiating the project, was to equip, educate, and train community health workers. Many of these community health workers have very little training in basic healthcare. Provide assistance to community health workers in emergency situations. Develop an electronic health record system to be able to get baseline health data, because frankly, there's very little recorded baseline health data in the communities there. And then set the outcome measures to match national goals. So we were able to get support to purchase medical supplies for the community health workers, things like blood pressure cuffs, thermometers, and so on. And so we had our nursing professors and students from Villanova travel down to Nicaragua and do health training sessions, teaching the community health workers basic health assessments. And so you can see on the left there a picture of one of the community health workers looking at some development charts, child development charts. And then the other two pictures are showing a student on the right from Villanova teaching a community health worker how to measure blood pressure. And then you can see on the bottom left picture, someone, one of the community health workers practicing making blood pressure measurements. So recognizing that these community health workers really only have very limited education, maybe only second or third grade education because of the civil war in Nicaragua, we really had to start at some very basic levels to be able to train them for doing these health assessments. On the technology side, which is what my students and I worked on, we needed to reach out to these rural areas. A few of them have electricity. None of them at the time had access to the internet. And you can see from the picture to the left, that picture was taken in May. So we could ford that stream using, driving through that stream. But come October, November, at the end of the rainy season, which runs from May to October, you would not be able to cross that stream. It would be too high a water level. But there was cell phone service. So we see one cell phone tower that served the community in that area. So our concept was, and this was before, telemedicine became a big program and way of doing health projects. So again, this is going back to 2011 that we started this work. So we equipped each of the community health workers with cell phones and solar chargers so that they could keep the phones charged. They would then make basic vital sign measurements on the community members, and then text that information using their basic cell phones to a medical server where we developed software to store the data in an electronic medical record system. And then we developed some software in case people's vital signs were out of norm, then it would flag a doctor to, inform the community health worker that this particular patient needs to be brought in for further assessment. So we didn't do any assessments with this program. We just did referrals for further investigation by medical professionals. So the type of health data that we collected was blood pressure, temperature, respirations, pulse rate. In the case of pregnant women, we're looking at fundal height, and then baby head circumference, length of baby, baby weight for newborns, and then we also recorded births and deaths. So here's a screenshot of a patient data, and so this is what the medical professional would be able to see. So some of the accomplishments, we had teams of electrical, electronic, and computer engineering and nursing and business students and professors make trips to the sites from Villanova, but also from 2 partner universities. I mentioned UNI, which was the engineering school. We also formed a partnership with University UNAN, which is based in Matagalpa, which is around 2-3 hours drive from Waslala. So they have a nursing program at UNAN. And so we had the students and professors from UNAN also support this project. We established an in-country office staff, which included a project manager, office manager, and staff nurse, as well as a nurse from the Ministry of Education. We trained almost 150 community health workers that served a population of about 100,000 people. So I mentioned that the area around Waslala is about 70,000 people. So we did expand this project to other locations and trained additional community health workers outside the Waslala region. We installed the server at UNI and wrote software for the system. And we established many key partnerships, and I will get into a little bit more detail on those partnerships in a moment. So this is a picture of our community health workers in the Waslala area who were trained and were basically part of the program. So some key partnerships that we developed were, as I mentioned, UNAN in Matagalpa has a nursing program. So this picture up here on the top left shows a nursing student from UNAN Matagalpa giving a workshop on some particular medical assessment to the community health workers. So this was done in collaboration with us. So they would also support the workshops that we provided. But then even in between the times that we came down, which was maybe 2 or 3 times a year, the UNAN students would continue to give the workshops and work with the community health workers. And so, you know, the one thing about sustainability is that you want to try to build in as much local capacity as possible. On the bottom, on the top right here, you see Alfonso and Melvin, 2 students at UNI, and there's 2 professors here at the electronic engineering department. And these students not only took the software that we had developed, but they expanded it further and did further development of this work. So, you know, we worked on not only collaborating with the students and professors at UNI, but they actually did a lot of the further development of the work beyond what our students did. So in a way, we were sort of handing off the responsibility and the capabilities to our colleagues in Nicaragua. Another partnership we established was with Claro, and that was through an introduction by Maria Virginia Moncada, who is the head of the electronic engineering department here. And it turns out that by good fortune, one of the executives at Claro, which is a cell phone company and service provider in Nicaragua, and that cell phone tower that I showed earlier was a Claro tower. And so one of the executives, Victor, he was actually a Villanova graduate. He got his master's degree from Villanova. And so he agreed to provide us all the cell phones that we needed for the project, as well as texting packages so that that would be completely covered by Claro. So as part of their corporate social responsibility program. So that was very helpful and an important partnership. We also established a partnership with UNICEF. So you can see at the bottom here, I'm signing some paperwork with the in-country director for UNICEF. And through that program, we were able to do some further outreach to other parts of the country where UNICEF was working, particularly on the Caribbean and Atlantic coast. And then finally, the picture at the bottom right here is a meeting with the regional government on the Atlantic and Caribbean side of the country. So that part of the country has an autonomous region. And so they were able to develop an independent program to serve the indigenous communities in that part of the country. So all of these partnerships sort of evolved out of our collaboration with UNI and then UNAN and so on. So now I want to turn to a second program that we developed with a university in Guatemala. So this is based in Quetzaltenango. The university is Universidad Rafael Landivar. And it's also a Catholic university, a Jesuit university that was established in 1961. And we got introduced to them through Catholic Relief Services. Villanova University, being a Catholic university, has a good relationship with the CRS. And so I had met Brenda Urizar, who is a member of the CRS staff in Quetzaltenango, at an event that we hosted at Villanova University. And so I went down to Quetzaltenango in Guatemala, and I visited with CRS there. And they were running a program called Aprendizaje para la Vida. So this is a program to support learning in schools, and they were doing nutrition programs as well as supporting bilingual education in an area where the two main languages are Spanish and an indigenous language, Quechua. So in this program, they were helping provide meals to the students. And they also had a program where they were installing latrines in the schools. So they had a very active engagement with the schools in some rural communities that were underserved communities. So I went with the colleagues from CRS out to a school in Santa Maria Chiquimula. And in this university, in the school, they had no internet connectivity, no computers, and very poor digital literacy. So when I talked to the principal of the school and I said, you know, how can we help you? He said, what he would love to have is a computer lab. And so I, through my connections with CRS, I got introduced to the professors and students at Landivar University in Quetzaltenango. And I was aware of a program through an organization called World Possible, where they use a Raspberry Pi-based system for storing educational materials and then broadcasting that to a classroom where students can access those educational resources on their computers or tablet PCs. So this program called Rachel Pi offers this type of capability, and they have a lot of free software, things like Khan Academy, Wikipedia, and a whole host of other free educational software. So we decided to develop our own Rachel Pi-based system and worked with the students and professors at University of Rafael Landivar in Quetzaltenango. So over here, you can see one of my students, Sajid Hussain, working with the students on showing them how to program the Raspberry Pi. So the students were very familiar with the Arduino platform, but had no experience with working with the Raspberry Pi. So this was an opportunity for us to do some teaching to support the students to be able to program the Raspberry Pi. So we had one group travel in May of 2019, and then another group in November of 2019 as well. So the person who's giving the lecture here, so this was more So how do you configure a Raspberry Pi to be able to form a network and broadcast the data and so on to the classroom? So Javier is down here. Next to him is Edward Tahom, who is the monitoring and evaluation specialist in the CRS in Quetzaltenango. And then over here is Elfego Ovalle, who was the head of the computer science department at URL. And then you can see some of the professors and students who got certificates for this training. So following this training, CRS had a student intern, and they wrote a proposal to IEEE to get funding support to build this computer lab at the school in Santa Maria Chiquimula. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to travel there in February 2020 when they had the inauguration of this computer lab. And so you can see here on the left the picture of the students from Universidad Rafael Landivar, setting up the computers, configuring the Raspberry Pi, and so on. And this is the computer lab here, and you can see the IEEE Humanitarian Activities Committee banner, and they were the ones that supported this development. And this is the sort of official opening, the ribbon cutting of the computer lab. Edward Tahom is here. This is the principal of the school, and then one of the district representatives from the Ministry of Education. And then finally, you see a couple of students here working on their laptops. Unfortunately, come March of 2020, of course, COVID hit and the lab was not accessible to the students. So that was disappointing. For a couple of years, they were not able to access it. But the good news is that they're now using that lab, and there's been further development through Edward in terms of the Raspberry Pi programming and so on. So this has continued to develop since our training of the students and professors at URL. We've also recently been working with the students there and professors on a new project, which is to develop an agricultural app for farmers in the communities in Guatemala, and in fact in other Central American countries as well. So the last project I want to describe is a renewable energy project in partnership with ESPOL, which is a technical university in the port city of Guayaquil, which is the largest city in Ecuador. So it's a top technical university in Ecuador and has a strong commitment to sustainability. And you can see actually they have a wall with all the sustainable development goals listed on the wall of their campus. And they require a certain number of community service hours to be performed by their students in all of the programs that they offer. So the project we did here was in an island community called Cerrito de los Moreños. And this is a community located in the Gulf of Guayaquil. And it's a small island community that has about 900 inhabitants living in almost 100 dwellings. And they have sort of limited access to electricity. So the electricity on the island was provided by a 195 kilowatt generator. And so they had electricity available from 6 o'clock at night until midnight. And there was a flat rate of $1 per household per day was charged for access to electricity. And as you can see from the picture on the left there, you see the this growth on the distribution line there. So this system grid needs maintenance. So back in 2010, 78 solar home systems were installed by the European Union, and they basically implemented these systems comprising 155 watt solar panels and 12 volt, 185 amp hour batteries. And we made a trip from Villanova and also from Espol. We did a trip together out to this island. And in 2018, when we made that trip in May, we found that most of the solar systems were not working due to a lack of maintenance. And when the European Union members went in and they installed these systems, they really provided almost no training. And you can see these are flooded lead acid batteries, and they had this one little tag here attached to the battery frame indicating how it should be maintained, but really didn't go through in any detail with the community how they should maintain their systems. On the other hand, although the batteries are not working, they did find a useful use for the batteries to tie down and hold the chicken in place. So that's, I thought that was an interesting picture. So our approach, again, you saw this in the previous two projects, was to work with the local community, do workshops, capacity building, and the workshops had participation from men and women in the community. And we covered topics like the basic concepts of electricity, solar energy, and the maintenance of solar systems. And the attendees were selected to have their solar home systems rehabilitated. So we were able to get some grant funding again from IEEE HAC. And again, you can see over here, this is Javier Urquizo again. So Javier is a graduate from Espol. He was teaching at Espol, and then I met him at a conference, and he joined me as a PhD student, and he's now finishing up his PhD at Villanova. So these are the solar panels. We found all the solar panels were working fine, and what we really needed to do is to replace the batteries, in some cases the charge controllers, inverters, and so on, to make sure that the systems were working. So we divided our volunteers, so students from Villanova, students from Espol, as well as professors from the two institutions, as well as the community members. And we had one group working on the wiring of the electrical systems, and then also working on the rehabilitation of the solar electric system. So we were able to rehabilitate 20 solar home systems in 2 separate trips, 5 in January of 2019 and 15 in June of 2019. We also rehabilitated the community center and the health center, and all of the systems are continuing to work, and we're sort of monitoring remotely through our contacts on the island community. And not only are the systems able to now provide energy during the day, so for cell phone charging, for example, for listening to a radio, but they've also expanded the services there. Now they have access to the internet because of the availability of electricity. And so the opportunities for learning, education, and improving the quality of life of the people on those in that island community has been significantly improved as a result of having the solar electric systems working again. So I'd like to just sort of summarize. I've shared with you 3 examples of university partnerships between our electrical and computer engineering department and the engineering faculties in 3 different Latin American universities. Some of the common themes is we've worked collaboratively with the partner universities and developed and implemented projects that address the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The partnerships have extended to many new projects, and we're continuing to work on expanding these projects. I will be heading down to Ecuador to spend about 3 months there from April to July, working as a Fulbright scholar on further sustainable development type initiatives there. I also have had the pleasure of meeting some outstanding students from these universities, and I've been fortunate to have them come and join Villanova University to follow postgraduate studies. So I mentioned Javier Urquizo, who was from ESPOL. I have another student, Viviana Villavicencio, also from ESPOL, and then Scarlett Vasconcelos and Mario Aleman, who were from Nicaragua. And Mario is a graduate from UNI, and Scarlett worked very closely with me on the projects in Nicaragua, and she's an outstanding student as well. So I've been very blessed to have been able to bring these students through our joint project work to continue and advance their studies within the sustainable engineering or electrical engineering programs. So one of the things that I really found that enhances the work, and I'm sure you've seen this during the remote interactions through COVID times, is having in-person meetings, having those personal interactions, and developing those relationships and commitments over an extended period of time has really been an important element to the success of these partnerships. So that's an important aspect of this work. So I'd like to really express my sincere gratitude to all the students and professors from Villanova University and the partner universities who've worked together in these projects. I'm also very grateful to all the CRS and UNICEF staff who've supported this work. And then finally, all the foundations that have supported our work. So Halloran Philanthropies, IEEE, the Internet Society, and VentureWell have all provided financial support for these projects. So before I end here, I just want to share one final note. So this picture on the top left is a picture of my son, the boy in the maroon sweatshirt, and Stephen, who is the boy wearing the Andy t-shirt there on the on my left here. So Stephen was a student at UNI, and Sanj, my son, was studying at Villanova, doing electrical engineering. So there's another person who's not in this picture, Mauro Sancherico, who also came down on this trip. And Mauro and Stephen developed a very close friendship. So when Stephen was getting married, he invited Mauro to travel down to Nicaragua and attend the wedding. So while attending the wedding, Mauro was introduced to Stephen's wife's sister, and he fell in love with her, and then they got married. So this is Stephen's sister-in-law and Mauro. So this was well beyond my expectations for university collaborations, but it was just a very wonderful result of our interactions and programs. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention and happy to answer any questions.
What a wonderful presentation, Dr. Pritpal Singh. This is just so inspiring. And I love the human touch at the end, relationships between individuals and families. Amazing. So let us open up for questions, comments, discussion. I know a lot of people in the audience are trying to do similar things. Let's try to learn from Dr. Pritpal Singh. Let's open up some comments, questions in the chat box or in the, if you want to unmute yourself, you can do that too. So let's go beyond just saying great presentation. Let's have some thoughtful discussion.
I see Dean has his hand up.
Who's that?
May I say something?
Yeah, Dean. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Dean Watson from University.
Hi.
Watson University.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible, certainly.
Yes, sorry, yeah. So let me introduce first. I am Dr. Kiran Kumar, and I am the Dean for School of Technology at Watson University,
Where is it
Hyderabad,
located?
India.
Where is it?
Hyderabad, India.
Oh, Hyderabad. Wonderful. Okay. Same
Yes,
city
yes.
as I am in. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. We have been also working on similar kind of patterns of three different SDGs. One is water, environment, and education. These are the three things we are looking into. We did have conducted fewer programs, fewer empowerment activities for the women over here, for education and everything out. We also conducted the activities for supporting how do we ensure that the local community will be able to participate and support in the clean environment and so on and so forth. But from your presentation, I found that you have taken it to a completeness from end to end is what you are able to achieve. And on that front, there is a huge amount of significance of funding. Are we looking at only the home institution as the primary funding source over here, or will you also throw some light on what could be the opportunities for us? Will we be able to tap in some of the sources like that, or collaborations from the NGOs and all these things that we'll be able to explore out?
Yeah, so I haven't shared all the challenges that this
Yeah,
type
sure.
of work
Sorry
involves.
that I am
This is one of them.
right out to the
Funding
point.
is one of them. Yeah.
So I guess if I give some advice, the first thing is you have to be very adaptable because things are changing all the time. For example, right now, we're not able to travel to Nicaragua because of the political situation there. As much as I would love to go back and engage with my colleagues and friends there, it's, I was working there for almost 10 years, and then to lose that opportunity to go back there and work with them. And I still am, Facebook friends with many of them, so I keep in touch that way. But there are a lot of challenges. And I think the keys to success are you have to be persistent. You have to be adaptable. So just as an example, when we were doing the telehealth project in Nicaragua, we were relying on internet access through the Catholic Church there. Okay. And it was a satellite link that they had, and it was relatively expensive, about $300 a month they were paying for the internet access. And so the parish decided that they couldn't afford to continue to support that. And so they cut out the connection there. So we moved everything to Uni and used their, set up the server there, and we used the cellular network instead of the satellite link. So, we had to adapt to changes quite frequently.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I think that was it. I think we also were looking into some kind of solutions, and through this particular forum that it also helps us to collaborate as well. Thank you very much, Dr.
I think the other suggestion I would make is so as you saw with these partnerships, we were helpful and instrumental in terms of our the knowledge of the students, the resources that we could bring, and the ability to be able to travel down there and support capacity building workshops and so on. So we were able to provide that sort of guidance, resources, and so on. And then, but over time, my goal, and I think the goal of any sustainable development project to make it sustainable, is to hand off the ownership of the program to the local communities. And so, you can do like train the trainer models, capacity building workshops and things like that. But the ultimate goal is for us to be able to back out and let the community
take over.
Because that's the way you sustain such projects.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So we have one other hand up, and others are welcome to put their hands up, and we have one chat. So I'll go to the hand up first, and then the chat from Linda Tello. First, Shyam Shukla, come in.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Shyam Shukla from MIT Academy of Engineering. It was really very nice presentation, and we have got good insights about the collaborative efforts. First is one thing is sustainable, and second is if we can scale it up. So by delegating, scaling up of the same project within the nearby area. So what is your say on this, please?
Yeah, so I didn't go into details of our scaling of the telehealth project in Nicaragua or the other projects that we worked on. But we did start off in the Waslala community and serve that area. And then we went to a few other sites within Nicaragua and other communities. And then we also expanded to the Caribbean side of the country. So, you know, you develop a solution, you find out what's working, what's not working. And then based on the lessons that you've learned, you can expand to other communities as well. But yeah, I think scaling is very, very important because you want to try to take the lessons that you've learned and be able to, you know, benefit more communities beyond just the original one that you are starting with.
Okay, here's a text from Dr. Linda Tello. How can I partner with you for sustainable development projects in Peru with the KRO? I don't know, maybe you understand what the question is, the details, or I can ask her to elaborate.
Yeah,
Yes, hi, good morning.
Good
I'm
morning,
sorry.
Linda. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, thank you so much. I was excited to see your presentation this morning because I literally have a very grassroots sustainable development company, and I started it. The company's called Whole Earth Engineering, Inc. And I started it because as I was learning the spiritual traditions of the Q'ero, they are the last living descendants of the Inca people. I realized that though there were many Western people coming in and learning their spiritual traditions and then taking them out and making a lot of money, the people themselves are living in subsistence farming type of conditions and like extreme poverty. So as a doctor in civil, environmental, and engineering, I graduated in 2017 from Arizona State University. I took it upon myself to really start finding ways that the local people can build their own capacity. And we've been able to develop some very small projects, but we want to expand them. And they definitely need a lot of support. And what we do have down there is people that are willing to work. They're hard workers. They're a UNESCO recognized heritage site. And yeah, we really just need some ideas of where to get enough engineers. Right now, I do have a meeting on Monday with the American Society of Civil Engineers because I'm wanting to basically reconstruct ancient Inca waterways. And then once we get the water there, I'd really love to do some of the sustainable development projects like you have, Dr. Singh, for internet and schools and health, but without water, the basic thing there. Yeah, we really can't move. We can't move forward.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Singh.
Yeah, so one project that I didn't describe is a connectivity project that we've been doing in the Galapagos Islands, and very similar type of situation there where people come in, they enjoy the World Heritage Site of the Galapagos Islands, and then they leave. And they may be doing research, they might be just visiting as tourists, but the communities are actually very underserved there. So when you meet the people and you see the conditions that they have, so for example, the quality of education is much lower than on the mainland of Ecuador. So we've been working on trying to improve the quality of education. We did some renewable energy workshops there in October, and during my Fulbright in the spring, summer time, I'm planning to spend some time in the Galapagos as well, further developing our projects. But I think,
Okay.
So I completely understand the challenges working in rural communities with lack of resources, and be happy to work with you on that.
Great, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, fascinating. Thank you.
Let's go to Mansi Gupta. Come in, Mansi. Unmute yourself.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Great
Good evening.
lecture, great presentation, sir. It was so inspiring. Sir, I am actually from MIET Jammu Kashmir, India.
Mhm.
We at our campus, we are taking green environment, green institution resources, and we are working on rainwater conservation and empowering our labs through solar power. That all we are doing. But I think, like Shukla sir said, that scaling is the key. With sustainability, we need to scale also. So
Mhm.
the challenge I face is that students are not self-motivated. If in the last semester we made a non-credit course, we made it compulsory to do a community project. It was like financial literacy.
Mhm.
Sir, in India and especially Jammu and Kashmir, we have a lot of rural areas where people are not still aware of financial inclusions, what benefits they can avail. Even the bank accounts are not. They don't even have the bank accounts yet. So we made a point that a group of students, they should go to the nearby areas and spread financial literacy. But since it was mandatory, so they did it. So I mean, you are working, doing great work with the students. So are they self-motivated, or do you have some special policies and guidelines in place to get students to work?
I have no problem getting students. I think you have to sell it as benefiting humanity, and I find students tend to be very inspired by that. One of the things I find is students everywhere are very interested in helping their fellow human beings. And if you, and especially at a school like Villanova, where there is a culture of service to other people, I don't find amongst my students there's any motivation issues. You saw the picture of Alfonso and Melvin from UNI working on the software development. So Alfonso, I had taken him, both Alfonso and Melvin, we traveled to Waslala. And now Alfonso grew up in Managua. He's used to electricity, running water, internet access, and so on. When I took him to this community up in Waslala, we were staying in a house where there was no electricity, there was no running water. And of course, he didn't have access to his internet and so on. So as we were driving back to Managua from Waslala, I asked him, so Alfonso, how did you enjoy the trip? Or how did you enjoy the community there? And he said, it was hell. That was exactly the word he used. It was hell. But he was so inspired that the next time I went there, he wanted to come back to Waslala with me. So I think sometimes the students just have to see for themselves the conditions people are living in and how privileged they are and how they could contribute to helping their fellow, Indians or people in Nicaragua and so on,
Perhaps,
to improve the
perhaps start
quality of their
small.
lives.
Perhaps start small, Mansi. Don't expect many students to do it. Because
Right,
most of
sir.
them, when they start
I
small,
think
then others will see them and get
volunteering is the way
is the key.
forward,
If you make it a credit required course, I don't think you may not get too many people motivated. Thank you, Mansi.
Right.
We
Thank
have
you,
a
sir. Thank you.
Prashant,
Oh,
last
you're
comment
welcome.
question from Prashant here, maybe. Would you like to speak, or shall I read out what you said, Prashant?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, I am from Keli Technological University, Hubballi. Yeah, sir, we did have some trial experiments on implementing renewable energy system at community level. But somehow to scale it up to a larger scale was a challenge. We could not take it to a larger extent. We found that people who are the beneficiaries were expecting more freebies. So how do we transform their attitude to build a sustainable system which can run which can be taken up on a long run?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So there's two comments. One is if you give anything for free, people don't necessarily appreciate it. So you want to make sure that they have some buy-in, whether it's through paying something or doing some labor or something where they're engaged with the program. But I think the other thing is right at the outset, you want to set up the program to be one of co-development. So rather than you going in and saying, we're here to help the community and, we're going to provide these resources and so on, think about sustainability right from the outset and work with the community. So if you work in partnership and work very closely with the community, they will be able to, you want to get their buy-in because it's really, they're the people who are going to benefit. And so the system has to be designed in collaboration with them. And I'm happy to, have more dialogue with you offline on that particular topic.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, sir. Thank
Dr.
you, sir.
Ivankar and Dr. Singh. Anybody else wants a quick comment here? If not, I have a couple of questions for you, Dr. Singh. It was a delightful presentation and highly motivating. You have been associated with IEEE Humanitarian Technology Group for several years. And IEEE has always been a great organization for helping lots of people around the world. So if we were to advise some of the people in the audience how they could connect with the IEEE Humanitarian Program, Technologies Program, what would be the best way for the fact most of the people I believe here are faculty members, many of them from India. What would be the best way that we could connect with the IEEE program so that we can leverage some of the things that they have available for us?
Yeah, so as you said, I've been very involved with IEEE, and there are a number of programs. There's the Humanitarian Activities Committee, the SITE program, the Smart Village program. So, and in fact, many of and EPICS is another program. So all of these programs have sort of gotten bundled into what's called the Humanitarian Technology Board. So it's really at an elevated level now compared to what it used to be. I'm happy. I just put my email address in the text box.
Okay.
So if people want more information, want contacts, I'm happy to share them.
Fantastic.
The other thing I also want to mention is that next year, we will be hosting the IEEE Global Humanitarian Technology Conference at Villanova.
Oh, okay.
And so we would love to have participation from all the attendees.
Wonderful.
And there is also a Region 10 Humanitarian Engineering Conference in India that people might want to look into.
Oh, where is that going to be?
I'm not sure.
Google it. I'll Google it and
Yeah.
find it. Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand this over to Hans Sawyer to have the closing comments and interaction with you. Hans, come in.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Krishna. Professor Singh, this was very inspiring. And it just builds on the beautiful time we had together recently, a couple of months ago in Cape Town, South Africa, where we, the IFES global community, honored you with our Duncan Fraser Award, and what you're continuing to do and articulate the important work that you do, not only in Latin America, as you've mentioned, but also in other parts of Africa and other parts of the world, per se. I'm very, very pleased. Let me just make a couple of other comments here, Krishna here, and building on several of the points that Professor Singh just mentioned. The whole engagement of students is so profound. What I want to do, working very closely with the Latin American community, take this particular conversation today, I will share with many deans and academic leaders in Latin America and have them listen and learn from this experience and facilitate some potential connections there. We're working, I'm co-chair already this year of our global conference in Mexico, Monterrey Tech, in October. And certainly Central America is close to Mexico, and there are other Latin American countries, of course, US, North America, and other parts of the world. I want to find creative ways to engage you and connect you with some key individuals. I'm part of several universities in this country, and the students in some of the universities in the United States that I'm closely associated with. I want them to know about the work that Villanova, that you and the community is doing. I just wanted to mention this to you. Just shifting a little bit into the IFES GDC very briefly, we have our first regional conference in Albania, in a very unique, special place of Eastern Europe, close to some very complex situations, as we well know. And we also are inviting students, in addition to university leaders, deans, professors, provosts, and so forth, to join us. So the engagement of students focusing on some of the issues that you articulated so beautifully around sustainability is fundamental. And just a final comment I just want to make. We are continuing to work on, some of you know, our book series of women engineering leaders. We've just completed the edition on India and Africa, and in a few months, we'll have our book series by women leaders in the MENA Arab region and also Southeast Asia. It's very, that are part of our global IFES GDC community. By the way, I'm also very pleased to see Professor Dean Kumar Ravulakola, a new member in the GDC community that is here part of this webinar. So I'm very, very pleased. So dear friends, colleagues, peace be with you. Thank you again, Professor Singh, for this inspiring presentation. Peace be with you.
Thank you very much, Hans.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share some of the work we're doing, and look forward to engaging with some of you on helping you to be also perform such projects as well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Have a
so
wonderful
much.
time.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. Bye, Jagmohan. Thank you for attending.